Whiskey Crusaders. Got an early episode, I know, on an unusual day here at 6 p.m. Central Time here in Texas. We've got our buddy Chris here from the 69th Regiment from New York, and I'm going to let Chris take it away because you guys know who I am, but let's have Chris talk about it, what the 69th Regiment is and all about this amazing brand.
So the first part is I'm not part of the regiment. I'm a master blender of the whiskey.
Okay.
And otherwise, I could get caught. I've been made an honorary member from the Secretary of the Army. I don't get a pension. I can't get to the PX, but I get to do everything else, include peel potatoes, I think. But this, I don't know, folks, I think you've done the flagship brand, which came out in the fall of 2019 in the past. But we didn't talk about it, and I wasn't here. Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and pour it because, we're going to have good whiskey in the glass here for sure.
Yeah, well, and it's hard to talk if you have a dry palate. I'm going to move my phone for a second so I can drink also, because I don't want you to drink alone.
Absolutely, that's no fun.
Okay.
Hey, Donald. Hey, Ted or Dom. Good to see you guys. And Scott. Good to see you guys early this evening. Hope you guys have a ball as well. Enjoy at home. If not, some other good Irish whiskey.
So we're going to go over the 69th flagship a little bit, the background and what that is first, as a build up to the single malt, which just getting released. The 69th is a National Guard unit now, but actually it was found. This is because of the history of this whole whiskey. It's a long story, a lot of stories. The 69th was actually formed as a militia back before our Civil War. And if you remember the movie The Gangs of New York, the Irish and everything else, what was going on is the Irish were getting off the boats in New York, and they were coming here because they were starving. A lot of it due to the British. As they got off the boats, women and children, welcome to America. Men, welcome to America. Sign this paper. Oh, by the way, you're drafted.
Oh, jeez. How nice.
A pleasure. Welcome. We have a nice new uniform for you.
I didn't know that part. That's really what happened. That's the draft wars. That was all that fighting that was in the movie. That was the draft wars. Okay. Now, one of the reasons the Irish are going to be fighting starving, they are also coming here to get trying to learn about the military, because while we were about to have our Civil War, they were fighting the British. The British, were that the sun never sets on the British Empire. Well, they needed food, and they kept taking the food from the Irish. They took their cows, their ducks, their chickens, their fish, their fishing. They took everything. Forget about the potato famine. So the Irish Catholics over there were warring against the Irish Protestants. They're killing each other for the right to fight the British. Oh, jeez.
So that sounds like something here. So this gentleman named Thomas Francis Marr in Waterford, he said, this is not the smartest thing. And he's one of the people that helped create the tricolor flag. And the green was for the Catholics, the orange is for the Protestants, and the white was down the middle was for the peace to come between them so they could fight the British. Now everybody's happy, British not so much.
Right.
Okay. So they caught him, and they were going to have him drawn and quartered. Forget about first offense probation. So Queen Victoria said, let's just take him with the bad. We can't do that. Let's take him with the other bad Irish, and we'll ship him off to Australia. Oh. So he got on his merry way, and he got to Tasmania, and somehow got loose and made his way to New York. Now think about it. We're talking about sailing ships back then to go from Ireland to England to Tasmania and then back to New York.
Oh my gosh, that's an insane trip.
It was an express. Yeah, it was. I'm getting dry. Cheers. Schlancher. So when he got to New York, he went to the regiment, and they knew who he was.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And they made him an honorary colonel.
That's all right.
Hey, great. No, he's a star, unlike Elvis Presley. So he went in, and the 69th was trained. They were in from the very first battle. They were in Bull Run, Antietam, Fredericksburg. And they fought so hard against the Confederacy that Robert E. Lee gave them the nickname the Fighting Irish, the Fighting 69th. Okay? So that's a nice piece. Now, by this point, and people have died and getting caught. But in the Battle of Fredericksburg, by then, Thomas Francis Marr was a general.
Damn. Okay.
Well, if everyone else gets shot, you keep moving up. Top of the line.
That's one way to do it.
Kind of like this, like the Russian generals are right now over in the Ukraine. You know, put them up. Yeah. Anyway, I don't mean to. I'm not trying to get political. So he went up, and he kept going on. Now, there's a lot of different stories here because he gets into whiskey. At the Battle of Fredericksburg, they had their worst defeat ever. They had an 85% casualty rate going up St. Mary's to Mary's Heights. But the weird thing was, who was at the top of it? Irish from Georgia. And why were there Irish in Georgia? Because they went to Georgia to not get stuck with the draft wars in New York. And they did this, and they had this, and Thomas Francis, a lot of stories present. So they fought through. But when they went to the next battle, Gettysburg, they thought for sure they're done because they were decimated. So they asked their chaplain, Father Corby, to give them a blessing, an absolution before they got killed. So he looks up and he's in his crowd of people and he puts his arm up like this. And he gives this mass blessing, and they fought in the cornfields, and of course they were instrumental in the victory. And so if you go to Gettysburg, there's a 25-foot red granite Irish cross with wolfhounds at the base of it to this Irish regiment, the 69th. And next to it is a statue of Father Corby with his arm outstretched. Wow,
that's cool.
Okay, well, that's cool. Now, here's the better part, because I'm going to go to drinking whiskey next, is after the war was over, the church reassigned Corby back to where he came from.
Oh, wow.
Indiana. Back to his alma mater, a place called Notre Dame. Became the third president of Notre Dame and brought the name Fighting Irish with him.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah. Now, do you follow football, college football at all?
A little bit. Oh, I know who Notre Dame is, obviously.
Okay, well,
we're Catholic, so yes.
Oh, so am I. It's okay. So anyway, if you look, the stadium is big, but it's low, and you can see past the end zone. You can see the back of the library, which has a 50-foot high mosaic of Christ Redeemed with his arms up like this. And to this day, he's known as Touchdown Jesus. Well known at the school. And then, hey, you see, there's great stories. There's always great. Then there's a statue on campus of Moses. It's a Catholic campus, and he's up there and he's partying the Red Sea like this. You know what they call him? First down. So
that's great.
Now Corby got his own hall. A little bit of rank. He got and outside the hall, they recast the statue that's at Gettysburg, the one like this. And to this day, he's known as Fair Catch Corby.
Oh, jeez.
All right. So anyway, going back and getting into where the Irish whiskey came from, way back when the Irish were considered really the scum of the New World. Right. And but the St. Patrick's Day parade in New York City predated the Revolutionary War. So 173 years ago, they were worried that the onlookers are going to attack the marchers, so they asked the 69th to lead the parade. Oh. Which they did. No one got hurt. Imagine and the old saying, if it works, don't fix it. They've been doing it for the last 173 years.
That's impressive.
Impressive. And now it's made primarily the regiment. It's a National Guard unit, infantry, and it's primarily New York City police, firemen, and first responders. Okay. So anyway, each year they have, and they led the parade. They meet in the officers meet in the commander's office, which is on the Armory, which is at 2627th Street, built in 1906, full block. And they have an Irish whiskey toast. And they then march the men and women, regardless of race, color, creed, to St. Patrick's Cathedral, where they march in uniform with the Irish, with their flags, with the Irish wolfhounds, and the mass is held for them, not for St. Patrick that day. And they then go out and lead the parade.
Wow.
So anyway, this Irish whiskey toast, they always wanted to have whiskey. And meanwhile, each year they go over to Ireland for their tricolor celebration. We used to have Flag Day here, which we still have. But they have tricolor celebration in Waterford. And they go there which is where, Thomas Francis Meagher was from. And they go to this. The funny part is they kept trying to get an Irish whiskey for over here. But the distilleries kept saying, oh, sure. But they never did anything. And then they met one of our guys. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Whiskey for sure.
Yes. Have you tried our shot glasses? They're almost 3 ounces each. I like them because you don't have to keep pouring.
I've never even seen those. Oh, very cool.
Yeah, you can almost put a handle on them. So anyway, they wanted their own whiskey. They weren't getting it done. They met one of our guys, and the guy says, "I can do that for you." So they contacted me because I was doing things with Scotch and with bourbon, and I said, "Great, I can do this." And I like Irish, but I'm enamored with Green Spot. I used to drink it when you only could get it from Ireland. And I used to date a Pan Am stewardess to bring it back for me. Anyway, so the idea was, let's make a whiskey that's smooth like that.
Okay. Yet,
because the 69th is made up of these first responders, I wanted to make it affordable. So I wanted something that was smooth yet affordable at the same time.
Makes sense.
And we made a corporate decision to give, because it's a National Guard unit, which doesn't get a lot of support from the state. We decided to give $1 a bottle to the regiment for the welfare of the troops and their families. Sweet. And for the historical trust. And that's done on a monthly basis in perpetuity.
Wow, that's amazing. How much have you guys raised so far, approximately?
$1 for every bottle. But what the better part is if something goes wrong, and we give it to the trust. Okay, so if whatever money they have, they frequently give out scholarships. But like last year, these guys were over in Djibouti, Somalia, Kuwait. Not in the best areas for the world, and they had a couple of emergencies. What was nice is they were able to get money to get their family or to get themselves back the next morning. And we were able to get the money over to them instantly. Nice. And it takes care of people like that. That's a good thing. So the whiskey. So what I did was my idea was to get smooth whiskey. A lot of people don't like Irish whiskey because it has too much bite. I don't know.
I think it's delicious.
Oh, good. Right, so do I. But some of them have a little bit of they snap back at you. So
there's no doubt. Some of the other name brands. This is definitely an upgrade over that.
Yeah. So I made this like I worked with Lincoln Henderson for a while, and Lincoln he showed me he did things very smooth. I love the Angel's Envy after he did the Woodford. We had a great time. So I decided to make it like that. So I traveled from distillery to distillery to find the right juice. I didn't want to put my name on someone else's whiskey, but I wanted to do my own blend, yet keep the price down. And my ideal was Green Spot and Redbreast, two whiskeys I like a lot. And so I worked it out, and I used a combination of, on the flagship, 4 different types of barrels. I used some single char bourbon cask to get some vanilla. I used some double char to get some caramel. I used some sherry cask, very small part, to round out the backside, so to take off the bite, and then I used some port cask to fill it out. Didn't put an age statement because I blend for flavor, not for numbers. Right. And sometimes the sherry, truthfully, and this sherry by itself the sherry cask is just, pardon me, but it's like a chord of music. Unless you had every note in the chord, it wouldn't sound right. This is the same thing. So we do this, and sometimes that sherry can be a little young, but that whiskey, if we're drinking that now, which I am and you are, you'll notice you can smell in the nose. You can smell the malt. There's a lot of malt in this, and they don't get into mash bills over there. Either it's 100% malt or it's not. This has got malt. Right. It's got barley. It has corn. Another piece I can't go into, but I use different types of casks, and you'll be able to smell in this. You can smell that bourbon cask for sure.
Yeah.
But also, you're going to smell some fresh apples and pears. They're not cloyingly sweet. It's nice there. And if you put it in your mouth, it's balanced. You'll see it goes in easy, and it rides right over the tongue and flushes down. It's not sweet on the backside. It's almost like honey and cinnamon, but that's from that sherry cask. And I used the port cask to fill in the sides of the mouth. We kept it affordable.
Awesome.
So that's what that's about. On the bottle, it's got the story of the 69th. As I said, it's been in so many battles and wars. We could talk about that for a long time.
For sure.
So, and we came out with this is a fun part of talking about whiskey. This whiskey was supposed to come out in the spring of 2019, and God, I love Ireland. I'm in there 6-8 times a year. But the Irish have an 8th day of the week. It's called Someday. No one dies of stress in Ireland. So instead of getting here in the spring, it arrived in late September.
And I was like, well, we can't really bring it out. So we said, well, we'll bring it up in for 4 months.
Okay.
And that's great. Well, Fox News put it on TV, and 4 months was gone in 4 days.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay. That works.
Well, yeah.
From a sales standpoint.
Well, for something, but I was in a plane so quick back to Ireland to get more of it batched together. And by the time I got over here, we had COVID. Yeah. So that was that. But it's done well. It goes down very easy. As you can see, your glass is a high rate of evaporation.
Yeah. There must be a hole in this glass. I don't know.
I always say there's a fan over my head. I'm always sitting under the fan, and it goes in. And that's 40%. I can't say the distillery it's from, this particular one, because there was an operation they were dealing with, importer here that said you can't make something for anybody else or this and that with a name on it. So I don't even mention the town. We stay held true to that.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. So that's fine. It was easy. It wasn't a large distillery, and many people have guessed a lot of different things, and I think 1 or 2 have been right. My wife doesn't know where I go.
That's awesome.
But my wife doesn't know where I go here, so don't think it's special. Hey, really, you got to look at it certain ways.
Absolutely. So, it's a mystery.
Now you're in Texas. Have you ever been up to New York at all?
Oh yeah, my family's from Long Island, so I've been in New York City and Long Island lots of times.
Okay, so you know Times Square.
Yes.
Do you know the statue in there of the chaplain, Father Duffy?
Yes.
Big statue. Well, Father Duffy was the chaplain of the 69th in World War I.
Oh.
And he was over in France. You ever see the movie The Fighting 69th with Jimmy Cagney and O'Brien? That's the 69th. Yeah. So he's over there. It's actually the most decorated. He's the most visited statue because of the amount of people that go through there. But he was there. Meanwhile, while they were in France, the commander, a guy named Wild Bill Donovan, Wild Bill got hurt. He got hurt bad, and he could not go back into the battlefield.
Okay.
But he was no slouch. So Wild Bill did this. He formed the OSS. Now, if you keep track of things, the OSS became the CIA.
Right.
If you go to Langley and you walk in, there's a life-size statue of him with his own wing, considered the father of the CIA and special op teams, whether it's Rangers, SEALs, whatever. And that's on to this day. So it's another amazing piece of the 69th.
Damn, you're not kidding.
Yeah, it goes on. Anyway, people would like this, but they kept saying, do you have a single malt? Do you have this? Do you have that? Americans are never, it's like my wife. They're never satisfied. They always want the next piece. So I wanted, now I don't know how much you know about Irish whiskey, but if you drink Redbreast or Green Spot or the Spots, they're not single malt. They're not single malts.
Right. Yeah, they're single pot stills. Yeah.
And the reason for that is you have to usually add in a different grain to make them smooth. But because I do have a somewhat of a limitation on, since we don't own distilleries at this point of what I could get, so I had to be very selective about finding what I could use. And it took me literally 3 years to get the barrels I wanted to make a single malt that was smooth. I didn't want a bitey single malt.
Sure.
And that's it. You have a bottle there, I hope, the single malt.
I do, absolutely. It's delicious. Yeah. We reviewed it the other day. It's quite nice.
Oh, good. Yeah.
On your others, on the regular product, do you have unmalted barley in there as well?
Yeah, barley and malt. Yeah.
Okay.
In a combination. This one was hard to get a hold of because this is pure barley. I mean, pure single malt. And I thought this came out pretty good.
Yeah, I was really, really happy with this bottle.
And I wasn't. I was just. I waited till it was the right time to find the barrels, and we did. And we did up, as it says. It says single malt on the label there, and it's almost black at the bottom.
Obvious, which is a plus.
And you got a black capsule on the top versus the gold one.
Okay, I was going to ask this. That was on purpose. Okay, I figured it was.
Yeah, actually, one of the hard things, if you're at a bar at nighttime and you're a bartender, you can't see differences, and like that dark. But if you can tell black from gold, you're doing okay at the top. So that works pretty well. But if you can smell this, you can smell the malt in it. It's wonderful.
It's fabulous. Yeah, I was sitting there reviewing it a couple of days ago. I'm like, just leaving it here. I'm like, I can smell the beautiful fruits coming from here. I'm like, this is fantastic.
Yeah. Now this came out and we only bottled up 2006 packs. Because I said, I have something else in the wings I'm waiting to bring out. And I didn't want to use up all the glass we had. And and so but then we brought this. This hasn't gotten out to. I think there's a bottle or two in Texas, but it's just getting out up here in New York, New Jersey. The response has been just crazy. Awesome. So I think 25% of it's gone. People taste it and say, "Give me a case." I said, "No, it's not it's going out fast on that one." So we do.
It's a good problem.
I'm like, oh yeah. Well, it's good. I'm just now they're like, well, when are you going to do more of it? Yeah. So we're having a good time, but I thought this is going to go for about $55 a bottle. Okay. Depends. We go 55, 60. It could go as low as 50. I doubt it though. But yeah, it's nice juice. It's full bodied. It goes down easy. It's very warming. It doesn't have that bite, I think you can say.
Mm-mm.
No bite at all. No bite at all. So we can do that with it. We're kind of happy. We're surprised. And actually, the big thing is we do a huge amount of charity work. I mean, and it's not just charity in New York, but I'm out in San Diego. I'm in Texas. I'm in Florida. To help other military charities, first responder charities, raise money for their things to make their life better. Mm-hmm. Because the more we give back, the better the world is. And it's really, and we're taking care of those that protect us.
Exactly.
Which I think that's a big part to it. I'm not saying, we're not going to take care of these people. We take care of those that take care of us. Exactly. It's a thank you, and it's the right way it should be.
Yeah, I also have military too, so I totally get it.
Do you know what the MOAA is? Military Officers of America Association.
Okay.
So now you have clubs, and you have multiple chapters in states, especially when you have a lot of vets, California, Florida, where you have chapters that have admirals, generals, everything in there, merchant marine, everything, and they get along great. Yeah. But they're working together to make the world a better place. Absolutely. And so we're helping these guys along, and they're always doing the right thing by everyone else. We're really in the part to make that work. So that's a big part. We also deal with the AOH, Ancient Order of Hibernians. Mm-hmm. And I'm half Irish. You can't tell by my last name. My mother was Irish, Benson. Okay. And but I have the Polish side that can drink. I have the other side that can get drunk. So I'm very bashful about it, and Sláinte. So, I do like that. I have people that are getting the single malt. They said, "Why are you getting a single malt?" Something because I says I'll drink that slower than I will the other one because I'll drink a bottle of the other one at nighttime, and this I'll pay attention to. Yeah. But it's fun to see things happen. But meanwhile, we've got other projects. I've got an aged expression coming out. We'll have some other pieces coming through. It'll be a lot of fun. I've only just turned 70 over the summer. I think I'll be done at 75. And my wife's like, "When are you going to retire?" I said, "I finally have the job I want."
Yeah, for real, right?
Job. And I love you too much to be with you full time. So,
sounds about right, though.
I learned during COVID. I live in a 3-story townhouse, and I was doing novenas to the gentleman that invented 3-story townhouses because I was in the bottom, she was the top, and we met in the middle for meals with a frequently a growl or a snarl or whatever. I love you. So that's kind of it. I've been talking for 25 minutes. What do you want to talk about? So I should ask if you have any questions.
Yeah, I mean, like, so you got some more of the, I know you had some awesome history there. I guess like I said, they just came back from some lovely places based on what you were saying earlier. I guess they were in Afghanistan and Iraq as well, right?
Afghanistan, Iraq, yeah. They were, they did, oh my Lord, they took care of the most dangerous road in the world. Oh my God. It was named after the colleges. It was, and they did everything. They have done some amazing pieces over there. Here's one for you. When 9/11 hit, the commander called the guys in and sent them down to organize it at the World Trade Center. He wanted them. He was the first to do that. Now, National Guard units are controlled by the governor, and the governor calling goes, who's going to pay for these? Who's this and that? And the guy just said, "You don't understand." Click. He did a second time. Click. Third day, governor sent down orders that they should be down there. And then the 69th became their armory became a place where everyone went to try to find who was missing. And it was horrible at that point. So, and there's still a lot of if you ever get a chance to go in the armory, which is not they're going to be renovating it soon for 5 years, but it's a museum in itself to that and the different wars. They have an officers' bar, the Gary Owen, which is just magnificent. They're open to certain groups that are looking at it, but they'll be closing down this coming year, and they haven't done renovations since 1906, so I guess it's kind of overdue.
Shit. All right, well, yeah, probably time.
Yeah, that's it. Do you remember when they rebuilt Madison Square Garden? They put a floor up in the armory, and the Knicks played there for 6 years, and it's still there at the armory. And then after that, the next claim to fame was they ran Victoria's Secret, the modeling shows there for a few years. A lot of troops are offering security. A lot of troops.
I would imagine so. Shocking on how that would be.
I can't get over it. So it's a great, the history there and the parts. There's a colonel I know very well, and he's from Baton Rouge, and he. Now, Louisiana fought against the 69th.
Sure.
Okay, during the Civil War. But during Iraq, they got put together, and they fought as brothers.
Oh, nice.
And these guys are like married. If I go down there, and I've done a bunch, there are things to the 69th all over the place, in the battalions. And I go to visit places, and we stop by, and people know, because you're paying respect both directions. But the amount of camaraderie, and that's great. It's the best, and that's happens the same thing. We do the Army Navy game. We got a few minutes. Army Navy game. There's a gentleman. He did a fundraiser 30 years ago, and he gave the money to vets, and he raised the money, but didn't take money that day. But he kept growing it. He kept growing. Johnny Mac Soldiers Fund. So 3 years ago, we did it. He was hoping to raise $750,000 in one day. Everything's donated. Guess what? He raised $1.1 million.
Well, that'll work.
Everything donated.
Wow.
And we've done it. This will be our third year going in. We up at Foxborough. My guys are fighting to be able to work this event.
Yeah, I bet.
To be able to see. And an ex-SEAL, a good friend down in San Diego, he's bringing his daughter's in the Air Force. His son-in-law is a Marine. Another one is in the Army, and they're bringing them all together for the game. So the world, it's a great life. It's a great world, and that's why I'm honored to do the whiskey, and that the whiskey lives up to the tradition of the 69th.
Absolutely. Now, are you guys in the AFEs and stuff like that on bases at all?
We're in Class 6 stores where we can. Okay. Getting into AFEs is harder than getting into Macy's. We've been through it. You have to do just giant numbers in the areas around it, and we haven't been around long enough. But I'll say up at the Garrison West Point, we go through quite a bit of it. And then Fort Hood. I tell you, you guys have water in Fort Hood because you seem to drink a lot of whiskey instead.
Shocking if it works out.
So we're working at it. We're doing work with the Rangers. That's a lot of fun. The Rangers are great people, what they do, but everybody's giving back.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Maybe you'll join us when they do an annual jump in the lake in Orlando. Of course, jumping in the lake means they're going out of helicopters and parachutes. Oh. And then you're picking them up with a speedboat, and you're getting them in and giving them a shot as they try to clear the water out of their lungs. You try to put the alcohol down their throats.
and it's a lot of fun.
That's hilarious.
So it's good. Yeah.
Hey, raise good money. It's for a good cause.
Well, those guys get together. They actually take care of each other. There's a lot that they do. And what's great about it, as you know, military, we deal with some people that are MOH recipients. They hate talking. They like to talk. They feel they're obligated to talk about those that are left behind. Sure. And a lot of these first responders and things, they don't talk about themselves. They talk about people they left behind, or they keep quiet. So that's a great thing. We have great people in our country, and just we're honoring them.
For sure. And
with that, I'm going to have a final toast, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
And oh God, I noticed that your glass goes down faster than mine, but mine are bigger, so it's okay.
It's freaking delicious,
So Sláinte, it's a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Oh, I do like that.
Great.
I now have. That's it. Hopefully, get a chance to see you one of these days, either up here or down there.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you ever come to the DFW area when you're down here in Texas?
Yes, I do, and I just have to go up. They have me. I'm kind of getting booked into 2025 already.
Crap. Okay.
Well, there's different events all over the place. Here's a good one. Is 2 years ago they asked me when I did the toast at the officers' toast on St. Patrick's Day. They said, "I'd like to march with us up to the cathedral." I said, "Great."
That's very cool.
It's about 25 blocks, but I didn't realize that those guys march 120 steps a minute.
Yeah.
I redefined bringing up the rear.
At least you get to go to St. Patrick's. Of course, it's a beautiful church. So. Yeah.
I have. Have you ever met Cardinal Dolan? One of the best.
I know he is, but I've not had a chance to meet him now.
He's like the Irish Pope of the United States.
Right.
But he's just so warm and encompassing. It's a great person to be with. So they have a lot of things going on. So that'll be Dallas, Fort Worth. I'll talk to Bill Langan, our guy down there. I'll see him down in Austin, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Love to have you. You're welcome. Anytime you want to come over, we'll have you over.
And I'll bring a bottle or two with me, or a canteen. Are there any questions? Do we take questions on this show, or not really?
Any questions anyone wants to ask? Anybody have any questions? Well, we got Chris here available for you guys. I think most of you think you probably cover most of them, but if everybody has them, he's happy to answer them for you guys. So I know Mark's in here. Mark's a veteran here from Northwest Bourbon. He's an awesome guy. Fishing Drams is here. And Dustin here's from Top Shelf. Several other YouTube channels, Everwin. So yeah, I know we have a large veteran community that watches our show. But like I said, everybody pretty much is veterans in our family too. So
that's great.
Like, especially being from New York too, my family being from up there. So it's like you couldn't get a better story. As I keep reading, it's like the story gets better and better every time you read it. It's like holy crap! There's an
I could go on for. There's so many pieces I didn't talk about. Here's a cute one. So Thomas Francis Marr, he's now a general over in Fredericksburg. Okay, now he used to evidently drink his Irish whiskey with Vichy water. Now before you think Vichy water was natural club soda. He didn't have the other bottle stuff. So he sends his aide out in the middle of battles to get him some Vichy water.
Oh, jeez.
But the guy couldn't find it. Now, I would have filled a bottle with something else. So would you. But but the story is he found champagne.
Okay.
And so was born the regimental punch, which was then 2 bottles of French champagne to a bottle of Irish whiskey. Now we do it with 3 bottles. And I have a champagne saver. I'm cutting the tops off bottles, and that's going through. No, it's a tough life. It's a dirty life, but I work it out. But the war was over. They reassigned Marr. He became the governor of Montana. A lot of Irish in Montana from digging tunnels, miners. But anyway, he disappeared. He was on a riverboat, and they fell. Well, they don't know if he was drunk and fell off, got killed by a Confederate, a Brit, or it was a political opponent. But if you go there, there's a statue of him on the Capitol building, but actually there's a bust overlooking the river. And now each year on Tricolor celebration, all the American Irish go to Waterford. You know where the Irish go to? They go to Montana. They go there.
That's awesome.
Nobody wants to stay where they're from.
So that's about it.
So we got a question here from Donald. So he wants to know, so is the blended blend of single malt and single pot still, or is it a blend of single malt, single pot still, and grain?
The single malt is it's a combination of stills, but it's all single malt. You only can't call it anything else if it's not single malt.
And then the blend, is the blend got single malt and single pot still and grain whiskey in the blend?
Yeah, it's got a little everything in it. That one, it's a blend, and that's probably they're not really. I'm not the favorite person they want to see. We buy from different distilleries, different things. For that one, it's not an easy blend to put together. So they know what I want, but of course, every barrel tastes different.
Right.
So I get there and I'm like, no, this is off a little bit, or that's off, and we have to change. And the guy looks at me like, do you know you got 4 different things or 5 different pieces, and you're doing this? Like, he's looking at me like, Yank, if you just ordered one thing, we could put this together and put you to bed. And I'm always laughing because I'm like, well, this is how we're going to do it. But that's why how we can make it smooth. That's why it goes down so easy, and it's the right thing to do. It's a lot of fun.
Make a crappy product, that's easy. It's making a good product that's smooth. That's a different story.
It's easy to make an expensive whiskey because you're working with great pieces.
Sure,
but it's hard to make a good whiskey that's smooth. To be this smooth, normally you have to go twice the price of the flagship. You have to go. You got to go up. You have to go in the Redbreast and Green Spot range, and this isn't, because I want the troops to be able to afford to drink it.
I think it's great. You guys, it was $32, something like that for the regular one. Yeah, I think it's a great product.
So that's
anybody can afford that, and even at $55-$60 for the single, I think it's super still. It's still an affordable price as well.
Yeah, and there's just no way to have done that. And that one, it's mainly a 7 to 9 year old on that. But the thing is, it's just hard. Buying malt whiskey is not easy to do.
Yeah.
Or it's just expensive.
Sure.
So it goes in. But we've got some new ideas coming out the way. And
you have all these finishing barrels on the single malt as well that get your bourbon, rye, port, sherry, and rum cask. I mean, that's a heck of different things to blend together to make a single malt.
A cute one was I went to Ireland for one time, and it was during the COVID. You had to spend, regardless, unless you had the right papers. All the restaurants and bars in Ireland were closed, except in the hotels.
Okay, in the hotel.
Okay, but you had to be a guest at the hotel. A guest at the hotel to go there, but you had to spend 5 days in quarantine before you could go to the restaurant or bar downstairs.
Oh my gosh!
Now it's a limited menu, and it's up in your. And of course, by the end of the first day, you've had enough of the menu because I'm old picky. And they're delivering your food, your sheets, and all my blending samples were being left outside the door. And I'm like, oh yeah, you get to go to Ireland. You have no idea. I'm going into solitary.
For real.
Then, it was interesting, but it gave me other ideas. Being locked away. So it's good. I love Ireland very much, and I find some great different whiskeys, and I spend a lot of time. I get some new ideas. We try to lead the way instead of following.
Absolutely. So another question from Everwind. Everyone wants to know is a single malt from one distillery from Ireland, and are you aging it in America?
Single malt is from one distillery, and here's an interesting thing about Scotch and single malt, Scotch and Irish whiskey in single malts. You have to bottle them in the home country. You can bottle a blended whiskey in the U.S., but you cannot blend a single malt in the U.S.
Okay, shit.
But we do all the bottling there. And what it is since they're frequently buying from different places, different things, I take it to a bottler who's got these large blending vats, and we blend it there, and then I have to adjust it with a barrel at a time and figure out the depths of flavor. Yeah, I mean, it just seems like natural to me. I don't know. The only thing, I don't know if you've ever get a chance to blend whiskey, is that it has to meld. So you can take 5 numbers, add them up a column, 5, and instantly. But when you put whiskey together, it may take 5 to 6 weeks before it's finally the final product is cooked.
Right.
And for some reason, I
I can figure that out. I can't explain why.
Have the gift from God to do what you're made to do.
Well, and that's another part. Just to go over real fast, get out of here because I'm going to keep talking. Do you know what's amazing is in Ireland and Scotland, you have master blenders and you have master distillers.
Right.
Because distilling is a science. Blending, you have to be born with a palate, but it's two different jobs. Well, over here in the U.S., the master distiller is usually the blender at the same time. I think American corporations are just a little cheap.
That's probably true. That doesn't surprise me at all. Sad but true. But yeah, it makes sense why they'd be two different people. Because like you said, one's science and one is the other gift. It's just there's two different gifts. Making cuts is one thing, and blending together is a totally different ball game.
I put it. I always say that it's like one guy makes paint, the other guy puts the paint on the canvas. It's kind of what it is. It's just, and I'll say I can't. Well, I can distill if I had to. I could learn it because it's I know it to smell. But I worked with rum for years. Then we got into worked with rum. Then we moved around, and I was doing special casts with Scotland, and then with Kentucky. So it's always been very interesting. I have a good time with it.
Sounds like it.
Well, it's a dirty job. Someone has to do it.
That's right. Exactly. So have you spent most of your life in the spirits business, or you done other things prior to that, or?
I got into spirits business 35, I guess, in purely spirit. Oh no, probably about 40 years ago.
Okay, so a long time. Okay.
Which it doesn't seem that long to me. Thank you little kid. But it seems like I've been working about 15 years, but evidently Uncle Sam's like, no, you're getting a check for Social Security, and you'll take it whether you want it or not. So I have a good time. I don't feel old, but the time does fly.
You're having fun, so it's all that matters.
Yeah. I was raised with wine, learned all about wine, started with my father, but ended up my palate was developed, I think maybe by him or someone that was in there, and ended up in the liquor industry.
Fantastic. See, so Drifting Graham wants to know is any experiments planned? The funky stuff is always the most fun.
I would love to be able to. I don't. There's only 2 people in the company, 3 people that know what I'm up to, and the reason, well, you know what it is because I think glue slips sink ships.
Oh yeah,
and some people are like, if this guy's good, we'll take his idea and we can execute it really, especially if they have money.
Sure.
So I have 1, 2, 3, 3, 4. 4. They want 5. Yeah, I have 4 things in the hopper. But
nice.
And you'll know about them as soon as they come out. Hopefully, I'll have you'll see 3 of them by probably May.
Sweet.
And for the summer, a couple more.
Okay.
It's gonna be fun. It's a lot of fun. I've got some. Yeah. I wish I could go into more depth. It really.
Oh yeah. When it comes out, we'll have you back on and talk about. Yeah, love innovation. It's always fun.
I'll come to Dallas, Fort Worth. I think there's some really nice bars I saw down there. We probably could go visit or pay my bar tabs I left behind. And
there you go.
And we'll figure it out that way. It's I think your Irish bars down there. I always like to see they pour nice Guinness down there.
Yeah,
and there's a nice Irish beer coming in pretty soon. It's called, if you guys ever talked about beer, called Rye River. It was recently purchased. It's like the #1 craft brewery in Ireland. It's going to be coming over here in January, February.
Cool.
I drank it over there. It's gorgeous, and it matches really well with this. And if you keep practicing, you'll understand, and you won't get dehydrated so fast.
There you go. See, it's an important thing. So everyone wants to know, because so Chris is also the cast manager and purchaser as well.
Cast manager.
Yes, you pick all the casts.
I pick it. That's what I go to Ireland for.
Okay,
here's a strange thing. And people don't realize this. So people go, why don't I have my sample sent over here? Well, if I could get my sample sent on a boat, I would, because it takes a lot of time, and they never come direct. If you take whiskey and you put it in a jet, the pressure change is like taking a bottle of
Mouton Rothschild and put it in a milkshake machine. The pressure changers just play to hell with it, and you can bring it, you can open it and decant it and make it 85% there in a couple of days. But you want it to be fully there for later on. It doesn't take. You've got to go over there. So that's why I have to pick the casks and let my wife have some downtime without me. But no, it's. But yeah, no, I picked the cask, and it's funny. Somebody sent me over about a year or two. It must have been about 2 years ago. They found there was some 18 or 25-year-old Irish whiskey available.
Okay.
And I went with somebody else. It's another company. He's another old timer, not old timer. We've been together. Another veteran like myself, and we're like, this is not going to probably taste good. Well, the stuff had been over oaked over this. I probably wouldn't have used it to clean car parts, and they wanted $35,000 a barrel. Well, there might have been good barrels at one time, but all the good ones had been picked out, and this stuff had been in the wood way too long. Yeah, way too long. And so it's age doesn't always make it good. And and I was over and I came back. I said, well, that was a trip for about what we expected it to be. And we were laughing, and it happened. So you gotta just taste them and figure out.
Age is definitely not everything. Yeah, taste is really all that matters. Age is just a number on there.
And then over here, remember, we use virgin oak barrels.
Right.
Over there, they're using used barrels, and sometimes they're first filled, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they've been rejuvenated. There's so many things that can go on, and it's amazing. A different thing. What is the hardest whiskey to make? This is a cute question. Anybody have a question, an answer on this? What is the hardest? Canada, America, South America. Where do you think the hardest one to make is? You think it's cognac? Actually, I'll make it quick. Think about it, and I'll give you. It's got a great answer to it.
The hardest whiskey to make, probably a rye, be my guess, just because it's messing the still.
No, it's actually Canada. And do you know why? They don't have a mash bill.
Oh,
they distill each grain separately,
right,
and then put it into different barrels. So you may have 5-year-old rye with 8-year-old corn with this and that.
Right.
It's just so many variables. And then the Canadians will only buy on quality. They don't care about cachet.
Right.
You're only as good as the last bottle you put out. It's some real heavy work.
Yeah, he's like, 40 casks of different types. It'll be fine. It's like, okay.
Oh, sure. I'll work that out. Yeah, so it's fun. It's bad enough now. I get to Ireland and they pick me up at 5 o'clock and 8 o'clock in the morning on my second day. 8 o'clock in the morning is 3 o'clock in the morning my time, and I drive 2 hours to get there. So it's it's fun. How can we keep drinking without me? I don't understand. I always toast you, but there we go. I have a plethora of bottles here.
I have total bottles here. I've got like 4,500, something like that.
Oh my Lord! You sound like Jack Rose out in Washington.
Yeah, pretty. We're opening up a tasting room here in a few weeks, so it'll be all good. So when you get here, we'll have you at that place instead. We'll have a good time.
Oh, I'll make it. If you're going to do that, I'll make sure I can. I was in Austin for the Commanders Cup, Air Force Army game a year and a half ago, and I make it down. But I got the boys that call me back in again to come down there. I think Fort Hood. I want to get a Hummer and bring it on home.
That would be very cool.
Well, the price of gas keeps going down. Sure.
There you go. See, gas is cheaper. Get a Hummer. Exactly. So everyone wants to know, so are you using fresh oak barrels or bourbon refill barrels or a mix of all of the above?
Well, everything's refill, but sometimes they're bourbon barrels. Okay. Sometimes they're port barrels. Sometimes they're sherry casks. They sherry butts, all different pieces. So it really depends. Because I'm not doing a lot of different types of aging, I want different flavors. And right now, as you've seen, a lot of people using double different barrel finishes.
Right.
So it comes in. So yeah, I use, as I said, some single char bourbon casks, some double char casks, and then after that, the port casks. I've played with some other things. It's kind of interesting. how do we say, it's easy to get, like if I wanted to get a certain type of cognac, this and that, but I can't get enough of it to do much except for specialty stuff, which then becomes expensive, which is not what I'm trying to do.
Right.
I'm trying to make stuff I can, a little bit more that we can come out with.
Sure.
So we do different casts. Does that answer your question?
Any of the weird woods like chestnut or acacia or cherry wood, that kind of stuff at all?
I've had some requests.
Okay.
And it's really hard to get a hold of. Yeah, you know, it's down in Kentucky. If we ever go to buy whiskey, sometimes to buy the whiskey, it frequently comes. You're buying the juice. You're not getting you have to return the barrels. And a lot of the you end up with getting it in totes. And a lot of the stuff right now, like in this because the price of virgin oak barrels from the U.S. is going to be going through the ceiling fairly soon. In Scotland, they've been actually getting raw oak barrels and versus French oak, whatever, and they're giving them to the Spanish for the sherry and this and that. And go, we'll give you the barrels; they're yours. Yeah. But when you finish using them, we own them. They come back to us. They'd rather do that and get the barrels, have them ready, because when the price of American oak barrels go through the ceiling, which it will, you know. And actually, I've tasted. If you guys haven't gotten into this, do you guys know what honey barrels are?
As far as like actually putting honey in them, and then
no. Good.
Or is it really good special barrel?
A really good special barrel. So about 10% of barrels make great whiskey, and they cannot figure out for love nor money why. So if you put 3 trees on a hill side by side, wait 70 years, plant them on the same day, 3 years, and pick them the same and cut them down the same day, and then you make them into barrels. You spend the summer and the winter out there, make them into barrels the same day. Then you fill them up the same day, same distillery. You wait 3 years, each one tastes different. God does what he wants with a tree. Well, but they also never thought 70 years ago they'd be running out of white oak.
That's a valid point.
And it doesn't have to be Kentucky; it's all over the country. But now, some guys have been playing with using some. I've tasted some barrels made with 50-year-old oak trees, and I always thought they raised the tree for so long. I didn't realize it makes a big difference in the flavor. And I was talking with we have a master distiller down in Kentucky, and he started laughing at me. And I said, "What?" I said something, and he goes, "That's 50-year-old barrels," and I'm like. I said, I'm glad I'm 70, because by the time these things start getting bigger, my palate couldn't handle all this stuff to deal with. It's mind-boggling. You know, I said, you guys are going to become Canada down here. Oh yeah,
right. Okay. So
but it's hard to get. It's hard to get the exotic woods, and then you can use them so much. I would like that we can.
Understand completely. Okay, so everyone wants to know. Yes, just wondering. How as a blender do you create a consistent flavor from batch to batch, year to year, or are you embracing batch variation?
Oh, that's the real trick. I have to make them as close as possible, and I worked with some people that they were in rum. I wasn't a blender down there, but they had done it in their family for a couple of 100 years. And it's funny is I can taste Irish whiskey and I can take it apart.
Yeah.
And but the weird thing is we do special casks for people, but what it is I don't make them vary too much.
Okay.
I can take the components apart, and I really that's the part. I mean, I can smell if it's got this or it's got that. It is. That's where the art comes in. Some people think it's. I spot a difference sometimes, but I think most people will not. Very, very little difference, because you're working with a lot of barrels. If I had to work with batching 8 or 10 barrels at a time, I'd have a problem, probably.
Because how many is the batch usually for you? How many barrels is usually in it?
I've done as many as 50,000 bottles at a time.
Holy shit! A lot. Okay.
Well, it is and it's not, but also done smaller batches. It's just you take it and you may go, I want this much held for that, we do the special cast. I say this will use this much for this and save this for that. because we may have a variation that has more, maybe a tiny bit more bourbon coming through it. And could I adjust it? Yes, but I can also, or I can let someone buy it that way on the select cast program, which we do.
That's a lot of fun. So you're doing single cast too for people. Okay.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot. I don't think many. I've done that a long time, and it's a lot of fun. But to go from one end of the spectrum to the other end, it's like a guy that tunes guitars for a band on stage.
Yeah,
it has to be really close to be the middle C. I can spot that piece, but it's there. And when we do things with people with barrels, we're just attenuating their palate so they can taste better. But yeah, I kind of pick for 4 or 5 notes, and I smell it. Believe it or not, if I can't, I was very straight during COVID. This is not to get boring, but during COVID, I was scared because if I lost my sense of taste or smell, not only could I not work, think of it, but scary. Also the people that work around me can't work if I can't do my job.
Sure.
So, but a lot of what I do, I was smelling. The tasting only confirms what I've smelled.
Right.
And that's the thing I did with wine. So it's that, and I look at the legs and parts. Man, it's pretty good. It's a fun job. You should come with me sometime. It's a good day.
I'd love to. It'd be a good time. I have no doubt.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll put a name tag on your return too. Yeah. So it's hard, but it's not hard. It is what it is.
Right. Now, are you guys going to put out any cast strength versions at all, or single barrels that are cast strength?
I am, and they know I'm outspoken on this one. I hope not.
Okay.
And the reason for that, I think, one, I want to make product that most people will drink.
Okay.
It's like I don't want to make the most peatiest whiskey. And if you take Macallan.
Yeah,
Macallan, except for their $5,000 bottles, they don't make cast strength. I want it ready to drink, and it has. And if it doesn't turn over on the shelves of a liquor store, he can't pay his rent. So
valid. That's true.
So that's why I do that. I mean, I want it. If you pull the cork, she's ready to go.
Sure. Yeah, that's definitely ready to go. No doubt about it.
I like the way we do some of these Zoom. Actually, we do these with groups during the thing. We had them where we bring in people from the historical trust and this and that, and we do toasts all night long.
Oh, but that's
and then we get guys come in from vets all over the place, and the toasting gets. I'm glad I can remember to turn off my phone, but see how easy this goes down. There's no bite to it.
Oh yeah, it's perfect.
And the way I describe it is I like to sit and watch a baseball game or a football game, and I like to drink. Well, I don't want to have one of these big brute things, and that can be that I only can have one.
Sure, that makes sense. Yeah, exactly. You can watch a movie. You can have 2 or 3, and you're fine. No big deal. But yeah, it's what I like do stuff like this for is people that I don't like Irish whiskey is because you haven't had any good Irish whiskey is the problem. It's not because you don't like Irish whiskey.
Exactly.
It's like let me have something that's good, and you might change your mind.
We had a guy just yesterday. He goes, my wife doesn't like Irish whiskey. He goes, she liked this, and by the third glass she was slurring. Just started laughing. but his thought was, my wife is now drinking my Irish whiskey. Where am I going to hide it?
That's too funny.
So life is good.
Absolutely. See, Mr. Grapeshot wants us. How much of a difference is the taste from barrel compared to when you proof it down and blend it?
You got to remember that barrels are not always. They vary from strength quite a bit, barrel to barrel. And when you're tasting, you probably want to bring the barrels down to a fairly, at least in a lab situation, it could be a higher proof than where you're going to end up, but you want to keep them consistent so you can taste them comparatively side by side. I always say if I tasted 3 things 90 proof or one of them was 120, it's going to be hard to be able to compare the taste of it to you. So we bring them down, and often we don't do it as far. One of the reasons we're at 80 proof is that it makes it easy to drink. If I make it higher proof, it can show things up. It's like, do you guys ever see these things, deep char barreled bourbon?
Yeah, I've seen some of them.
So deep char is actually, it's to cover up things you want to cover up. It's like using primer paint.
That's a good point.
And I don't go for deep char. I'm trying to keep it that it's easy to drink. It's harder to make a good Burgundy than it is to make a huge Zinfandel.
Sure.
Because it's more delicate. You'll show the differences. Not that one's better or worse. It's just a different style. It's like, I think making this single malt, that was a piece. I'm glad that I'm only going to make a few batches of this before I retire, because it's harder to find the barrels. And
sure.
The guy coming in behind me, who doesn't know he's doing it, he's kind of getting the idea. He's going to have a job. It's
not my problem.
I'll be like, yeah. I said, oh yeah. I'll be like, did you find that problem you're going to have there yet? Yeah, well, good. Good luck finding that stuff. Or my favorite line, that's not my rice ball. It's not my problem. I'm fine with it. So there's parts that are easy. The other project, this is probably the toughest one, this single malt, but it is a lot of fun to drink. The other ones will be, one's more delicate, the other ones are fun. And I'm sure I'll come out with something else in the meantime. Well, what do you drink? Is that water I see going down your throat?
No, it's just this beautiful single malt.
Oh, God bless you.
It's delicious. I can't. It's just so freaking good.
I've got this next piece coming out is going to be really nice, but I found something I loved it about 4 years ago, and I wanted to do it, and the guy was like, "I only have 3 barrels." I'm like, 3 barrels? I'm like,
what good is that?
Like, why did you show that to me? Because that was it was like 2 barrels of barrel. That I said, this is the elixir of the gods.
Yeah,
and I do have a bottle of it that I put together, but that's like, I'll probably try to have that on my deathbed, because you can't get it. And I remember one of our guys, he goes, "Where did you get this?" And I said, we can't buy any of it. It's all done.
Oh, that blows.
Well, this isn't bad, and I got some other stuff coming down the pike. Yeah, we're gonna have some good. We have some good time.
Let's see here. Kristen Crescent wants to know is, when aging a single malt, how much does the yeast strain matter?
They never talk about yeast strain over there. The yeast strain is always the same.
They're like,
okay,
we threw some yeast in it, we're good.
Well, they don't. Over in the U.S., we get really caught up on mash bills and this and that.
Right.
Over there, they just don't. This is the whiskey. It's consistent. I haven't seen the yeast vary too much. I've seen in blended whiskey some mash bills vary that I'm like, there's some distillers I like certain things they do, but I can't work with them because they can't change.
Sure.
A distillery's big business. This is a different part. Here's something that's interesting. So a distillery sells off after they distill. They sell off the used grain, the mash bill.
Right.
But certain types of stuff will not go through the machinery. It clogs it up to try to feed the cows with. So they won't buy it. So they won't make their mash bill certain directions. But like I said, I like the whiskey if we could adjust the mash bill, but we can't. And since we can't, I can't buy it.
Sure.
Do you ever notice that Bushmills is heavy, or had been in the past heavy, or something that when I was a kid, that was the biggest brand, Bushmills.
Oh yeah.
But right now it's a heavier style. Styles change, and so do mash bills have to change with them. I think it's more that than bourbon is more progressive in certain ways, or it stays the same. Whereas what people like in Irish whiskey kind of moves around a bit.
Yeah.
And the what we drink here versus what they drink there, 2 different things also.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately here we don't get most of the good stuff, or it's only been the last few years we're starting to hit like you're talking like Green Spot, like they only came back over the States 10 years ago. It hasn't been here that long.
Well, yeah, Michelin Sons was the only place in the world you could buy it.
and you had to buy it in Dublin. And then you have the green spot, the red spot, the blue spot, the yellow spot, and I'm not sure if some of them were always out like that, but you could read about in Wikipedia about green spot 20 years ago. One of the finest whiskeys in the world, but you had to go. That's when I dated this Pan Am stewardess
in Ireland. Yeah.
Yeah. No, they brought it over here, and I was laughing because I was at someone. I said, "You got this?" Guy goes, "What?" I said, "You got this?" He goes, "I know what you're talking about." I says, "You have one of the finest whiskeys in the world." And the guy was, he goes, "Holy!" He goes, "Pardon my French." He goes, "God damn this! I didn't know this stuff was that good." I'm like, you better tell your salesman, and whatever salesman you tell, make sure I know what store he's going to, because they said it's stupid. Yeah. So there's some great whiskeys out there. There's right now they're opening up distilleries in Ireland, like they're opening up breweries over here.
What it sounds like. Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Usually you can spot them because they're coming out with gin and vodka the next week because they need to make money really quickly. And really, you make gin today, you sell it tomorrow. And I'm laughing. And then the other one, Irish whiskey, is getting hard because if you don't realize it, but right now South Africa is growing in the consumption of Irish whiskey like you've never seen.
Interesting.
And unless you know good people, barrels or things, the commitments that were made are being broken because someone will go, "I want to buy 40,000 cases of this," or 20, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I'm nothing." So certain markets are starting to realize it. The people in South America are no longer drinking as much cachaça and rum. They're starting to drink some better stuff, and it's going to start eating into our availability.
Yeah, I know. And Asians got the same thing. It's starting to eat into our, especially China, eat into our whiskeys on us, unfortunately.
Well, yeah.
It's like,
so yeah, I work with Angel's Envy. My nephews that are now 35 and 40, they know that they can't get in my garage until I die because they're
it's just full of really great whiskeys in the garage.
Oh my God! Yeah, I've got whiskeys, I've got rums, I've got this, I've got that, and I'm like, oh, what about? I said, you don't have to ask about that. How much do you have? Don't worry about it. It's not your problem.
Oh, that's too funny.
And we ended up some crazy stuff. But it's like Pappy. 25 years ago, Pappy you could get Pappy like it was nothing.
Yeah, nobody gave a shit. There's an old guy in a bottle. Who the hell wants that crap? They're like, oh, and at that time, it was like $60 for the 23-year. Like, who the hell pays $60 for whiskey? That's stupid.
We were talking about there was a whiskey called Corner Creek, still around. It's much, but it used to be from great places, and they were doing. The old owner was doing 175s in the dog-eared bottles. It looked like a vinegar jug. And you could go down to Oklahoma find a 175 for $27 on the bottom shelf, and you're like, "That's Pappy."
That's crazy.
They didn't know. They just didn't realize.
They didn't care. They're just like, whatever. It's whiskey. Who cares?
Did you ever look what time when Oklahoma got rid of Prohibition?
I did not. When did they get rid of it?
In the 50s.
Jeez.
Baptist rule, baby. Baptist rule.
Well, hell, the sad thing is my brother actually lives up there. They just finally got liquor stores that they can sell real beer in. You can, and it's like, holy crap. And they're open on Sundays. Texas isn't even open on Sundays yet. It's like, good grief.
But you can find 42 types of tequila at a gas station.
Got that going for you. So, it's another different ball game.
There's I wish that someday we sit down and talk at some place. I've got some people I worked with that were pretty funny and things they got involved with because of family situations and moving around. And there's a lot of great, Lincoln's a lot of great stories. I used to work when I was out with some people as we went around. I've been in a lot of places we go around. They know kind of who we are, what's going on, and a waitress will walk up and go, "Well, I got some moonshine in Kentucky when I was down there. They bring you a mason jar to the table," and you're like, and you shake it and you look at the bubbles, and you're like, or you smell it and you're like, "Oh God," and
you get a little nervous, and you try to be gracious. But then they go down to Florida Keys. I've been down there. I met a plumber that went to a Home Depot, bought a hot water heater, and made it into a still. Oh, and he's making rum. And you know what? It was damn good. It was damn good. And I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, this is my next door neighbor I'd like to have. But it's real, right? But sometimes my guy's like, I'll taste that. I'm like, no. I'm like, put it down. Don't touch it. Well, don't put that. It's going to take your fingernails off.
Yeah. That's not the kind you want at all. Yeah. Last year at Thanksgiving, I'm sitting there at my wife's cousin's house. I'm sitting there for the whole day, and I got some wine. It's okay, whatever. And so I felt like, we got some moonshine. I'm like, where the hell has that been for the last 6 hours? Like, let's try that. It was actually shockingly good. Like, my neighbor made it. I'm like, can your neighbor just come over? Let's just drink his stuff, because he's clearly got better shit than you guys have.
Oh, see, I worked with Crucian Rum for 10 years.
Okay.
And but we had kits of fusel oils, aldehydes. So we could take people and teach them what rum should smell or taste like.
Yeah.
Versus a lot of stuff that's the poor man's vodka. And so I used to teach people, I said, if you smell this, I teach them about, if you go to a wedding and you smell this, you smell that, I said, don't drink it. I said, this is a hangover waiting to happen. I don't care what the price is.
Yeah, for sure.
And we taught them about that. And the same thing how do I say? A lot of the tours I go to do not have showrooms. They do not have tours. And I have friends that want to go. I said, no. I said, well, you can come with me. I said, but, and they're like, they could care less about the tour. They're like dogs in a butcher shop. They're like, no. We want to see what he's going to drink at the end. But they want to. It's a distilling's a manufacturing plant.
Oh yeah, totally. It's a giant factory essentially.
And they don't store the barrels there anymore. The rick houses usually are someplace else, and frequently they're next to a port, so they can ship them off someplace else.
Makes sense.
So it's not as it's business. It's not as romantic. Right. So Lincoln, I worked in Lincoln Hamilton, as I said. So Lincoln was funny because you talk about I love people don't know about rick houses and where the barrel is stored. If it's up high, you have temperature change. Temperature change helps age faster. This and that. Down at the bottom, it doesn't change so much. So like a 3-year-old at the top is much better than a 5 or 7-year-old in the basement where the temperature has barely changed. So we were just laughing about it. So Lincoln said, he goes, way back when they were trying to, he worked with a whole group of scientists. They said, maybe we can artificially change the temperature in the warehouses.
Okay.
And see if we can age whiskey faster.
Okay.
So they raised the temperature, they lowered the temperature artificially in some warehouses to see how it would work.
Sure.
Oh, and they also try to figure out where a honey barrel comes from.
Okay.
They went nuts. So he goes, they finally figured out after a while with the temperature change that God does what he wants. And you cannot change it.
Exactly.
And when you accept that, it's fine. And Lincoln he's very much church-going man. And there was just, he'd be like this. And then he went back and he had some friends at I can't use names. I got to watch on this one. So he went to, and the guy was the guy he had mentored and became a master distiller at another large company.
Wow.
And the guy said, and he had these rick houses and they were magnificent and this and that. And they were trying to figure out what made a honey barrel. Okay. Is it trees from the north side of the hill, the south side of the hill? Sure. You pick them you pick everything in the world. And he goes, they're going to learn what we did about 20 years ago. That you can do whatever you want. Wow. God makes trees like he wants to make them.
This is true.
So these guys spent millions. And then they had a tornado came through. Tornado is very strange because what it did is it changes the atmospheric pressure.
Right.
The barrel, some barrels almost imploded. So it pressure changes and a lot of interesting stuff. But they tried all this other anyway. They figured out later on. That's what they came out and said. After like a $5 million experiment over the following years, it's been this thing. They figured out that you can't figure it out.
Yeah.
And Lincoln was like, although he was a scientist, God does what he wants. When you accept that, you're fine.
Exactly. Yeah,
and I love that. I love that about that.
That's funny, but he's right. There's nothing you can do about it. Like you said, it's just gonna be what it's gonna be, and you taste magic when you taste magic, and sometimes you don't.
Take what God gives you, and you can try to adjust it, but you cannot do it that ahead of time. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, this is. I wish there was a football game on right now. It wasn't. It was on a Monday night.
Yeah,
I have it on the background. But I'm still trying to figure why my laptop went down. This is funny, but it's doing good. Well, it's right behind you here. It was all set. It was literally set to go a minute before I got on the phone, and it just died. And I don't know why. I'll have to call someone over tomorrow.
It's like,
what do you guys do? What are you guys drinking for the holidays? What is everyone having for Thanksgiving?
I'm sure mostly I got a bunch of family coming into town that are mostly bourbon people, so I'm sure we're mostly bourbon. I'll be bringing these though for sure, because I love bringing them stuff like I don't like. I'm like, well, good, we can solve that problem. I like bringing them Scotch and Irish and going, oh, these are really good. Well, that's because it's good whiskey. So yeah, definitely bringing these two for sure.
I try to give out. I bring out good. How do I do this? The really good whiskey is in like a side closet.
Yeah.
The certain whiskeys are on the whiskey trolley.
Yeah,
and those are like show for people that don't know the difference. And I'm like, I'm like, oh yeah, drink that. I'm like, just leave my stuff alone.
Yeah,
and
it's kind of what I use Blanton's for. It's like, it's the same bottle opened in 2017. I don't care. It's the same one. It's like, it's whatever. But everybody else goes gaga over it. I'm like, sure, whatever, have at it.
As long as you're happy and not bothering mine, I'm happy with you, sweetheart.
Exactly.
Enjoy.
But yeah, so it'll be fun to always fun to bring them things they haven't had before, especially from the craft world or just stories they haven't heard of and things like that. And they're like, oh, this is really good. I'm like, no shit. Shocking, lad. I brought you good whiskey. So, that was from all over the world.
Well, I'm usually more shocked that they developed a palate.
Yeah.
Or they've decided it's good because their friends told them it's good.
Oh my gosh, there's so much of that crap. My friend told me this is good. Oh, those people just frustrate me for sure. Yeah, one of my favorite things to do with people with tastings is give them stuff like black whiskey out of Peru, and they're like shocked it's good. I'm like, I wouldn't give you stuff that sucked. I mean, what's the point? So
Well, that's it. People, they're shocked. I said, do you think I'm going to give you bad whiskey and tell you that I did it? I'm like,
exactly.
It's a lot of fun. There's an I don't know if you do Scotch at all.
I love Scotch.
So there's an annual tasting in New York called Eau de Vie.
Okay.
And Eau de Vie is considered like one of the top 10 in the world each year, and it's all done for charity. And guys that get the ticket, and the tickets are like $1,500 a piece, and they feel if they've got a chance to buy a ticket that they've won the lottery.
Sure.
And I was working, and people suppliers bring in whiskeys that are just off the charts.
Oh, I can imagine.
It's a one. And the thing is, this charity event is pretty funny because they serve like sliced teriyaki flank steak and some overcooked chicken. The food is so far not what you're there for. It's the bottles. And they have special glasses, and people are bringing out whiskeys that are coming from all over the world. And you're like, "Can you give me a chance?" They're like, "I got 2 minutes," and the whiskeys are insane.
Sounds awesome.
And you're like, I've got this." You're like, "I've got to stop. I can't pour this out." And it's the best thing. But it's you understand people that actually travel the world for tastings like that. And then you have whiskeys that are made like, where they sonically aged the whiskey, or they did this, some things that are like Star Wars. And I'm in shock. And you know what? They taste really good or good. You can't quite something's off, but it's not really off. Yeah. It's amazing where the world's coming to. And then you meet people, and you get some, you get good whiskey people again. The stories that come out are just hysterical. You can't stop laughing.
I can imagine.
Yeah. But we're not on the air. I'll be able to talk about some things. Okay. We can't talk, but we'll do that one.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Well, we can see what else any other questions. Otherwise, we can talk off the air and you tell us some of those fun stories.
Are there any more questions here? Is anyone still here?
Yeah, there's still a few people here.
Okay.
They're enjoying. We keep gaining people too.
I'll give you a cute story. So last year, as I said, the 69th was over in Horn of Africa, and they wanted because of the Irish whiskey toast each year. They wanted whiskey for the 2 parts. So they wanted whiskey for the toast, but they were in a Muslim country.
Sure.
So it was like, well, I'm like, I have a problem getting that over there. You know, it's this and that. So someone else made some phone calls, a certain CSM, and I'm not going to use any names. So all of a sudden, I ended up sending 11 cases of whiskey to a C-130 transport crew in Minnesota, and 10 cases got to Djibouti.
Imagine that.
And 1 case didn't. We did that one. Also, the 69th, there's a thing called you know what a fighting stick is? A blackthorn stick.
Yeah.
A shillelagh. So as they grow, they get older, they get bigger. And there's we get, and the 69th is the only group allowed to carry them in the St. Patty's Day parade. They're called fighting sticks, and actually they grow. They get huge thorns. They cut them off. They make them into swagger sticks, canes, shillelaghs, cudgels. Depends what they are. Walking sticks.
Sure. And
they take these things. So the 68th carries, and each year we get them made, and each one's signed by the person that made it. It's a 4th-generation family, and they do these things selectively. And it always says St. Patrick's Day Parade in NYC 2022. So what I was able to do, I had a little bit of forethought, which is, my wife would tell you, it's not my forte for her. That I had them made up. I had to order them in August for March. Mm-hmm. I had them made up that said St. Patrick's Day Parade, or this time that said Horn of Africa.
Nice.
And I had them shipped to the guys overseas. They arrived at the last minute. Usually, guys they couldn't believe. And then we had a Zoom call. We had a toast. For us, it was 6 o'clock in the morning. For them, it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
There you go.
But they felt like they were home. You know what I'm talking about. You and Marie, no?
That's very cool. No, I didn't, sir. I just had my family's all in.
So but it's bringing the guys, making them feel like they're home, and doing that. But what are they worried about the most when these guys are overseas? They're not worried about themselves. They're worried about their families. What are you doing for my family while I'm gone?
Sure.
They're in danger, but how do I take care of their loved ones?
Right.
Yeah. I love that stuff.
I'm sure the other case the C-130 crew drank, because my dad was on C-130s and B-52s, so I know how that goes. We might have received many pallets of things that should not be in here in this country by versions of back of C-130s. So,
well, yeah, I've got stuff that's supposed to be getting overseas in certain countries right now. I'm just gotta be quiet before someone gets in trouble. But it's like there's cooperation among the branches of the military. And it's a pleasure to, and everyone appreciates. I don't care because you're taking care of the same people.
Right.
They take care of you. You take care of them. It's all family.
Yeah, exactly. Mr. Grayson, called a delivery fee.
There's not even a negotiation. It's like you can probably ask more than 10%, but I'm like, thank you very much. And what can I do for your guys? And then I'll just pass it on when you get it. That's all it is. It's, why are we in Fort Hood? Because some NCO wanted this came up and he's up north, and that's what makes it work. Our guys work. Americans work together in times of need.
Absolutely. Mr. Grapeshot's ex-Air Force. There we go. Thank you for your service, Mr. Grapeshot. Yeah, because we shop usually at Carswell, which is now the Navy Joint Reserve Base in Fort Worth. We usually go to that Class 6 a lot. So
we have a thing called a CRC number, which means we're allowed to sell at Class 6.
Okay.
If the base commander will allow them to buy from local wholesalers.
Okay.
Some guys will only buy from AFES.
Okay.
But APs does have codes, and if you have the codes, you can get away with certain things. Certain Class 6, we sell a lot of product, but we haven't broken through that crust of multi-million-dollar sales in places around them to get to that next code. And it's just big business. It's APs is it's like Macy's, and I can't blame them.
Right.
It's control. I understand that.
Yeah. You just think with the brand who it represents, it would be easily in there. But we can always keep asking every time I go into the classics. I'm gonna get this 569. Gonna get it.
Well, if you're gonna go to a classic store and you tell me what the location is, I'll have somebody down in Texas helping you out from the backside.
Right. We can do that. We can figure out a date to do that for sure.
I wish I could show you. I've got some photos. One of our guys, he was out in. I always enjoy some creative pieces. He was out in California, and they have a combat helicopter, the one like they use in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And it's got the Red Cross on it, this and that. And he was doing a bar in front of it, but it was on wheels. And then you go to the side of it, and they took the carrier compartment in the back.
Yeah.
And it's outfitted with taps. It's a bar.
Nice.
It's
awesome.
I'll send you photos. You look at the scene, you're like, oh yeah, that thing is made for first aid. That will bring morale up to the countryside.
That is very cool.
I see some great pieces of equipment.
Yeah, I guess Mark, he's stationed up at JBLM in Washington, wants to know if we hopefully get it up there as well. So
yes, you can get. If you can give him we're up there. If you can give him my email address,
okay,
it is available in Washington, and I will send him the right directions.
Perfect.
I don't want to be commercial on the show.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's there. We've had a lot of calls for it up in Washington. A lot of calls for it in Germany. God damn.
Yeah, there's so many guys stationed in Germany. Sure. Yeah, a lot of great bases over there. Because my brother-in-law they were stationed there with my sister. They were there 6 years ago, stationed over in Germany in H-Town. So they were there. I know when I was a kid, we went to Bad Albans and Stuttgart. So fun times.
Oh yeah. Well, we've got, as you said, we've got some different things. That's why this new beer coming through, this Rye River. Trust me, it's dangerous.
Sounds good.
It's fun to try. Yeah, we'll get a chance down there. God, I'm trying to Irish whiskey and barbecue.
That's good stuff. Can't go wrong with that.
Well, life is good down there.
Amazing barbecue. We could get him to pair it with this stuff. He'd do it. He's an amazing barbecue man. He's won several awards for it. He lives literally a half mile from my house. And I'll get him to pair some stuff up with you guys, whiskey. That'd be fun. It's
interesting because it's I tell people about, and I kind of jump around. I'm sorry about this, but outside Irish, that we dealt with Scotch and people like Highland, Lowland, Speyside, Islas, and they can't understand why it tastes so different. And then I said, if you go to Texas and you have mesquite. That smoke is very, very distinct.
Totally.
Where if you have pecan or this and that, I said, well, in Scotland, I said some of the peat, it's from rotted plants and heather and this and that. But if it's near the ocean, it's got sea life in it. That's why it's got so much iodine.
Right.
And that's why. But if you go down to the lowlands, it's pure heather, and that's why that peat is light and floral. When you put it in barbecue terms, Americans can embrace that idea.
Right.
They can understand. They go, oh, that's what makes a difference, and that's what they can figure what they really like. I mean, some guys really like the Islas.
Big fan.
Campbelltons. So Campbelltons were the first whiskeys to go out of business wholesale when we had Prohibition. You know why? Because they were the closest to the U.S.
Makes sense. Yeah, I heard a lot of them were cutting corners and not quite as good as they used to be, and things like that there in Campbelltown.
It's so cold. They have to age things extra long. to kind of make them taste halfway decent, and it's just adverse conditions, I think.
Yeah.
Look at Speyside where you've got Macallan and stuff. That's because they were closest to Portugal and getting the barrels coming up. Then
Sure.
you got sherry bombs, certain things, and the guys, the farmers used to be revenue. I spent time in Scotland a lot, so they started making whiskey. They didn't know the differences, and some guys used to use like old pickle barrels, fish barrels. Because that's what it was. But the barrel was just a container of the day. Right, that was the Tupperware of the day, and they didn't know. And somebody goes, maybe we can take those lousy damn barrels coming in from Portugal, and we can use those, and it won't ruin our good pickle barrels.
Right. Yeah, they're definitely the ones of whatever is the most economical. That's the ones they pick up.
Now here, I've had a couple of them right now. Here's a question for you. So now you've got. You're supposed to make whiskey, malt into whiskey, and you're a farmer.
Right.
And somehow you got it all wet in the rain, which never happens in Scotland or Ireland.
Right.
So what do you try to do? Let me just try to dry this shit out. Pardon my French. Yeah. So they try to dry it. The guy used a peat fire to dry out, to try to stop the fermentation from happening. That's how I think Scotch was born, in my view. It was an accidental to try to drive it out.
Exactly.
And it came out. And so it was original barbecue barley. And I can't think of any reason why you would ever try to I'm going to get barley wet, have it halfway ferment and do this and that without having to spend any extra money. No. Someone was trying to save his tuchus, and it happened to be serendipitous that he got through it.
Absolutely. Complete accident. Just happened to taste good.
And no one from Ireland will agree. No one from Scotland will agree to that. Actually, I've had some peated Irish whiskeys, which God bless you. If you like peat, God bless you. A little too peaty for me, but it goes in.
Oh, I love peat, so it's.
Oh well. Good. I'll send you. I've got some things here that my brother used to love peat, and unfortunately he passed away. And God bless. I've got more things. I have more toast to my brother than I care to think about. If he was here to this day, he'd be. We had Angel's Envy back then. He was an investor.
Oh God.
And he had all these signed bottles from Lincoln Henderson at the house. Well, when they had an Irish wake, so to speak.
Yeah.
Nothing was sacred at the house. So all these signed bottles he had, the whole collection, they all got broken open. They all got drank.
Shit.
Well, no,
that's what it's for. That's what
it's for. Well, people, yeah.
I mean, that's it. I know at my grandfather's funeral, we broke him his 1965 Crown. I'm like, fuck, that shit was amazing.
There you go.
And he's like, that's what it was for. I mean, we drank pretty much every old ass thing in his entire bar, but it's good. And it's exactly the way he would have wanted it to be. It's what he raised us all to do, to drink good stuff.
I've told people when I pass away, I want certain drinks to be done, certain toasts to be done. My dad and I were big fishermen. We used to fish all over the world. So when he passed away, and he didn't expect it to happen, nor did I. I had him cremated, but I took his ashes and I spread him all the great fishing grounds that he wanted to go to.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really cool.
And we had a special with the state. We had an artificial reef put in. So on the fishing spots in New Jersey, it says Pop Spot. And his buddies stop by and they toss a drink in the water. One for him, one for the sea, one for you, one for me.
That's cool. That's
and more guys visit him that way than they would if he was in the ground.
Sure. Yeah, that's very cool.
So, I don't know. If in Texas, you guys probably have to do it in cactuses. I'm not quite sure what goes on.
It's whatever. Wherever you go. Whiskey goes down on the ground, whether it's concrete or dirt or whatever.
You've got some great whiskeys down there. You've got some good stuff being made.
Oh yeah.
I think all over the U.S. is getting better.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we've got some really nice we've got a few really nice distilleries down here now that are really doing a good job.
So good. And listen, listeners, is there anything you guys like to see in the way of whiskey you haven't seen yet? Any ideas? I hear they're asking for something funky, but any creative ideas?
I mean, I'd like to see, just for shits and giggles, what would Irish taste like in a mezcal barrel or something like that? I just think it'd be interesting to see what would happen in something like, or something like this. The good thing with Irish is, you are available to brew all those different woods. So I think that's interesting to see what are the weird woods have we not used to see what it would do in Irish whiskey. I think that'd be interesting.
If you want to keep it affordable, that's the thing. Is
that's the hard part.
That's hard. I think you can buy esoteric stuff. I'm not trying to downplay it. It's
right. Lower prices. Yes, we all like lower prices.
We're not. It gets a little out there.
It's out of control, and then the quality is not what it used to be either, and it's just such a shame. It's like. It just sucks when you get a whiskey. It's like, oh, it's just really good, and now it's like, it's fine.
Well, you ever think about, over here we take 70 years to grow a tree to make a barrel, the average thing, and our oak trees here are considered fast growing.
Right, compared to others, right? Sure.
So what happens is the grain structure over in Europe is much tighter.
Right.
So if it's much tighter, then we're not getting the evaporation rate and the opening and closing to age the whiskeys properly. So it takes a lot longer.
Yeah.
So they can say, if they say 10 years in France, it's like 5 years here.
Right. Yeah, it's a huge difference for
There's
sure.
all big differences. We used to deal with Crucian rum, and we had a huge temperature range. You had open eaves on the buildings, big time. But they used to lose 18% a year to that. 18% a year versus 1.5% in the 1.5% in Ireland or here. Think of the difference.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, how's it?
So you got to constantly top off and move things around. So it's a different world. So there's so many pieces. When Lincoln Henderson decided to do his rye. He wanted to use rum barrels to age it, and he used I think like 28 different barrels before he finally found the barrel he wanted to use for rum. Yeah. And I'm not trying to talk about Lincoln, but it's really particular, and it depends where they come from, what they were used for. It's pretty interesting. It gets out there, and now it's with the volumes, it gets even worse. It's fun. Oh God!
Wild.
Yeah.
Cannot imagine that angel share. I never heard like small barrels where we got some people. We went to some of the Texas stores. They said when they first started, they were using those 5-gallon barrels. But it was a 75% angel share. So they learned quickly. You can't do that. You got to go to full size barrels. It just doesn't work.
Oh yeah, it's just the heat and how you control it. There's so many different pieces. Look at Mexico. They use a barrel until it falls apart.
Right.
But then I find like a 20-year-old Irish whiskey, and the barrel should have fell apart. It was just, it depends what's going on. And
oh yeah, for sure.
That's when I see like an 80-year-old Macallan. I'm like, do you realize how many barrels they must have found that were bad until this one finally lasted?
You got a valid point.
Really?
That's true. You're right. Most of them are probably just complete shit, and it's like. Yeah, well, great. We got this left. Super. We got this one barrel we can bottle for $70,000.
No, really. It's like saying, "Oh yeah, this woman will look great when she's 90 years old, and this one will look like, she would have died when she was 64." I'm not trying to be irreverent, but that's really what it's about.
You're right, though. That's exactly what happens on older stuff like that. Yeah, most of it can't be any good. It just can't be.
I'm like, well, this is what's left. Can we find a fool that will buy it? And you're like, not me, And I looked at someone. We went to I think 25 or 30 samples, and I looked at the guy. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
And all of them were just horrible.
No, it's like this one tasted like soap. This one tasted like this. Oh. This one's like, oh no, my palate can't take this. And it's just.
Jeez. It's like, why'd you waste my time? This all tastes like crap.
Well, but I I'm just a corporate employee, and I follow the rule. And I'm like,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I'm like, I said, I would $35,000 a barrel. I'm like, I wouldn't give you $350 a barrel, but it's funny. It's even like the Air Force guy says do this, you pay, I'll do whatever you want, and you're like, what are you nuts? So it's fine.
Absolutely.
No. I love the military. I love the honesty of the guys that you meet.
Right.
I hate corporate. Well, I like corporate certain people because they're pressured to do things. But the other guys they give you what's really happening out there. They give you honest feedback, and they want to make the world a better place. Corporate, not so much.
Yeah.
We'll get there. We'll make it. We'll make the world better. Hopefully, you and I will get a hot water heater and make some whiskey.
There you go.
And there is some bourbon ideas that were done by different people that they didn't think that although the whiskey we thought tasted really great, that the public was not ready to embrace them yet.
Okay. Such as like
putting bourbon in tequila barrels.
Okay.
Or what type of tequila barrels?
Sure.
And why? And appealing. Well, but you're like, but when you find out if you put in certain tastes in certain ways, makes a big difference. It does work. Because if you put it at the right percentages, it picks up certain nuances that are very desirable. And if you can blend it, you can cancel the bad nuances out.
Sure.
But that's what a master blender is about, or master distiller, is to recognize that and to take it. But sometimes people are just there. But right now, you got people drinking like double barrel this, or you sell like some of the different woods, African woods, other woods, and I like to play with chestnut or walnut, but I'm not sure quite how it would work or what would happen.
Right. That's the problem. Is you have no idea what could happen exactly. Could be good. Could also be horrible. And now, unfortunately, it is a waste.
We had a friend of ours, he Italian, and he was in business in the wine industry in Italy, and he spoke Italian. He thought. So he goes, I'm going to go to Italy. I'm going to buy some stuff. The guy said, no, you have me. He goes, no. He goes, I can do it on my own. So he goes over and he tasted some wine. He goes, he loved the wine. I want to buy the whole barrel. I want this. I want that. He's buying things left and right. And the guy says, whole barrel. The guy gives him a strange look.
Yeah.
Yeah. He goes, yeah. And he calls the guy, give him whatever he wants. So about 3 months later, he's back, and the guy is back in Long Island, where you're from. And the guy goes, hey, boss, you got to see this. And he goes, what's the matter? He goes, you got to come down. When he said he wanted to buy the whole barrel, the guy sent him all the wine, and he sent him the barrel. But, of course, the barrels in Italy are like generations old.
Oh,
he says this barrel was the size of a hot tub.
Oh, my gosh.
Because they go in and chip things out, and he'll call the other guy up back in Italy. He goes, yeah, in the future. He goes, yeah, you buy the wine. You buy the wine, I'll sell it here. Because he bought it. He paid thousands of dollars for a hot tub he couldn't use. But it's lost in translation. Everybody was happy, but it's a good story. Oh my God. Yeah.
At that point, it turned into something. You actually make it into a hot tub somehow.
Oh, the thing was, I saw it was huge. And you had crystals and stuff. You could have a guy inside chopping things out with a chisel. All the crystallizations and that, but he was like, he goes, the guy said, you shouldn't buy. He goes, yeah, I had no idea. He goes, I thought my Italian was good enough. Oh, what are you going to do?
I know we were in Germany, with some vats for beer that, they were, bigger than swimming pools. It's like, holy crap. This is just a massive barrel, essentially. It's a vat of beer that you can go swimming in. Like,
that's what it's about.
While you're at it.
So that's guys that served overseas love those beers and love everything else.
Beers are great. Yeah,
it comes. You have beer delivered to your house, like it was like a milkman used to do.
Oh,
and they had
yeah.
special things. Yeah, I know it all. I've seen a lot of it.
Yeah, a beer man in America. That would be nice.
Oh, that's there'd be a new syntax on that one.
Oh,
That'd just be
that and the damn beer gets stolen off your damn porch every time. That'd be the other problem.
You too? We can't. I can't have things sent to my house.
Oh, really?
If I give you an address, it's sent. Yeah, I've had baseball tickets stolen like in 20 minutes off the front, and I live in a cul-de-sac in the middle of nowhere. They follow the FedEx trucks around. I'm like,
that's horrible. No, thankfully I haven't had a problem. But a lot of neighbors I know, we live at the back of a neighborhood, so thankfully it isn't really a problem. But I've had people at the front though have had problems. So thankfully they're too lazy, thank God, to come back here. So, which is a plus considering all the chandeliers and sinks and crap I've had delivered here lately. So
I know.
That's terrible.
I don't want my wife to be scared because she's scared enough now that I'm not here for a night, let alone if I'm gone for a week. And
Right.
I've got things coming up. You really have to come up to New York. And let me know you're going to come because you have to come to the Armory.
Yeah, it
Not
sounds
to
like we
the
need to
Armory,
come do that. Yeah, that'd be
but
fun.
to the Gary Owen, the Officers Club,
Okay.
because everything. If you get up before the end of April, because everything in it is historic.
Oh yeah, I can only imagine.
You're in a museum and everything, flags, this and it's all real.
That's very cool.
And unfortunately, I'm in. This is off the record now, but in the regimental trust, historical trust, I'm known as the kid. I'm 70.
Yeah.
If they close for 5 years, I'm worried who's going to be there when we get back.
It's a valid point. Yeah.
And these guys are the keepers of everything. It's you get the veteran Corps, but God bless. Here's to those. And actually, this is a cheer at the Gary Owen.
All right.
Here's to here before us, those here now, and those to come. To the regiment.
Cheers.
That's what it's about. It's a long gray line. There's a long line of tradition.
For sure. Yeah. Our buddy Whiskey Uncensored, he lives on Long Island, but yeah, he comes see you guys there in New York City. What you said, Lexington? Is that the street you guys are on?
Lexington 26th, 27th, yes.
There you go, Ben. Go check them out. But yeah, he's
Give him if he wants to, just give him after the show. Give him my address or my phone number, and we do special events, and it's be my pleasure. There's things that are happen there or available there that you could not find anyplace else in the U.S.
You're very cool. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're gonna find some time to come up there for sure. It's always good to come up there and see family anyway, so couldn't hurt.
So when 2 years ago they canceled the St. Patrick's Day parade,
Yeah.
the contract with the city is set up that if you don't do the parade, the contract is over. So what the guys did is at the last minute they got the thing from Albany. Officers and the head of the St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee marched up on the sidewalk at 6 o'clock in the morning to St. Patrick's Cathedral, where a priest came out and gave them a blessing so they wouldn't lose the tradition.
Nice.
Kept it going. So these guys keep everything happening. And it's to see it is amazing. Because you meet people that their lives are built on this whole thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Father Duffy, my grandparents were married by him, this or that.
Really? So that's cool.
Oh, you meet him all the time. You'd have a great time.
I have no doubt.
Yeah.
It'll be a good time. Yeah. That would be really cool. Yeah, because we got other family that's, FDNY and stuff like that too. So that'd be cool.
We did an FDNY firefighter. It was about 3 years ago. He was killed in a fire, a movie set. and he had four young children. One was 6 months old.
Jeez.
And they had a golf outing this summer, and they had a special barrel they bought, special medallion that was done, and it was pre-sold, and that made that one piece made $6,000 for the widow.
Awesome.
But the golf outing made more. But these guys stuck together. They give back to those that protect us.
For sure. Yeah, they always take care of everybody. That's for sure.
So if anything happens down in Texas, let us know.
Okay. Certainly will.
You know, I mean, you guys have got more droughts down there. I hear the swimming pools are going dry, actually. But
yeah, I mean, this summer was brutal. I mean, we had the days over 100 were insane. I mean, it was just 108, 110 on just a regular basis for 3 months. It was awful. Just an awful. The hottest summer of my life. It was horrible.
Now, what do you do for a living when you're not doing this?
Well, currently right now, I work on the whiskey place, but I was working for a bank, but I got laid off about 2 weeks ago, so nothing.
Ouch.
so right now, this.
Well, we'll talk off the air, but it's just the droughts are kind of killing things, and up here we're going crazy in New York. Just so you know that we're going crazy with the amount of migrants in the hotels.
That's what we've heard on the news, that it's gone nuts up there with that.
We can't get a hotel room for less than $500 a night.
What?
For a regular person. Oh yeah. I'm serious. It's insane. The Army Navy game up outside of Boston, guys booked at their rooms a year ago. Guess what? They're taking over the hotels for the migrants, and they've had the reservations canceled.
Oh my gosh, that's horrible.
But I'm real big on giving a guy a leg up.
Sure.
But once I give the guy a leg up, I expect him to stand up, and I hope that he will pass the favor along.
Exactly, because that's what you're supposed to do.
That's what you're supposed to do, you know. But it drives me crazy. So I'm like, guys have done the right things, and they've planned out. We've done things up here for this outing. And Mike has to go. Who's that in the back? Is that your son's or daughter back there?
This is my daughter. She wants to go to Walmart to pick colored pencils up. I'm like, we'll get there, kid. Walmart's open all night long. They don't close, I promise. It's all good, kiddo. We're having a good time. We'll go to Walmart in a little bit. Chill. Very important. She's been drawing some characters for her room. Which one are you making right now? Who are you making right now? He wants to know. You're making an elf right now? Yeah, she's drawing Christmas decorations for her room. She's got what? Santa Claus. She's got some reindeer, some snowmen, a penguin. What else you got there? Polar bear. And some minions. So she's got all sorts of fun stuff in there. Oh. But yeah, so we'll be going a little bit, okay? Chill, I promise.
Well, hey, take that time when you can get it.
Oh yeah.
Pretty soon she'll have a boyfriend that's 17 and driving a van. And,
she's 11. My older one's 16. So it's like, terrifying situation as a father. So boyfriends, it's terrifying. So it's one's like none of those. We can't be having any boyfriends. You got to be older.
Well, I have no children, and my mother-in-law lived with us. She moved in about 25 years ago and lived with us for 23 years before she passed on. And I made it easy to travel. But, oh, my Lord.
It's always something. The good news is they live in like one of the greatest bars in America is the way I tell them. Or that's not too bad. Right?
Living in America is a great thing.
Exactly.
Listen, I think, anybody still around?
There's a few, but we can end. It's no big deal.
All right, guys, I think we're going to end, but it's whoever is there. It's been a real pleasure tonight. It's kind of just relaxed.
Awesome. Greatly appreciate it. Yeah. So anybody that can find this amazing Irish beer from the Fighting 69, go out and buy it. It's fabulous stuff. Yeah, you can't go wrong. Plus the price, you can't beat the price for great whiskey. I mean, go buy some. If you can't get it, let us know. We can see if we can find out a way to get you a bottle because you need this in your life. I think it's just great stuff and. Appreciate what you guys give all those stuff donations to the 69th Regiment and just do all stuff for these military families and veterans. I think it's just fabulous. And we love giving back to the military, so it's just awesome you guys are doing that.
But I agree, but really, it's been a real pleasure.
Great. All right. So, I'm going to hit the button.
Take your daughter out like you should. Be a good dad while you can. And we'll talk soon. Have a great holiday.
Absolutely. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We'll see you guys next week. Cheers.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye. I don't have my license and I hope